my name is Danielle and I'm a Customer Success Manager here at Rallybound. And in this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through the post-launch process. So I'm going to set the stage. You went through the onboarding process, you gave all of your design elements, and you've been waiting to even understand what your site's going to look like. You finally get that email and you're so excited, and you are asked to go ahead and schedule an admin walkthrough, which is great because it's going to give you a step-by-step guide into all the areas of the system, so that way you know exactly what they mean and what they do. But sometimes schedules don't always agree with you, and even better, sometimes your eagerness doesn't always align with the schedules. And so in those cases, you want to know exactly what you do and where do you go. And I hope in this tutorial I'm going to walk you through some of those steps. So we have this really great tutorial called the post-launch client checklist. And in this article, it's going to list the different areas that you're going to want to address to get your site up and live, and it will have individual articles that are going to walk you through each of those areas. And so if you haven't taken a look at the knowledge base or this specific article, then you can access it at support.rallybound.com/solution, and then you just search for post-launch client checklist, or even post-launch. That might make it easier. In this article, you'll see that there are four different categories, and I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. Some of these we do have tutorial videos that will walk you through them in more detail, but I just want to help you get a grasp of what it is that you need to do. So the first area that I'm going to cover is the website. The areas that you need to address are to upload your homepage image, your default fundraiser and team hero image, add content to all editable areas on the home page, and add content to all inside pages. You'll want to add sponsor and frequently asked questions content if applicable, customize the fundraising page default, and customize the team fundraising page default. I'm going to walk through those step by step. So the first one, when they say homepage image and default fundraiser hero and team image. Now, the images that they're referring to are these images that are on the background of the page. Using this example, this is the home page. But let's just say that I came here and I created my own page. Then I would then be considered a fundraiser. If I were to create a page and I was part of a team, then that would be called the team hero image, because it would be the team page and not just the fundraisers page. And so one of the things that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to make sure that these images are correct for all of them. And you do that all in the same area. You'd want to go into your admin panel, which can be accessed here, and you are going to go down once you're in your admin panel to site content to the media library. We have a tutorial video that walks you through the media library. I would encourage you to look at it. But once you add your images, the areas that are important are the home page, and then the fundraiser page default and the team page default. Once you add those images, then they will be what's displayed on those specific pages. Anytime you add more than one image, it is going to float through like a carousel. You'd want to add content to all editable areas on the home page and all content on the front page. And so when we look at this, this is the tutorial that will walk you through this in more detail. But anytime that an administrator goes to the site, you're going to have these two controls on the right hand side. One is going to say Edit CSS. That's for advanced CSS users only. If you are an advanced CSS user, I would highly encourage you to use it. If you're not, just act like it's not even there. And if you have questions that you want to have updates made related to that you would require CSS, then leverage Rallybound for that, because we've got people that are advanced CSS users. I'm not one of them, but we do have a team that can do that for you. For the average folk, which is myself included, you'd want to go to the Enable Editing, and when you go to Enable Editing, you'll see these containers that show up. Each of the containers are going to be editable areas on the site. And when you click on them, you'll see a word editor that pops up that allows you to make updates to your messaging for your specific site, so that way you can get it up and running. You can see I can change this from upcoming events to Pacific Ocean events, whatever you want to call it, so it's consistent with your brand. But you would want to go and do that on each of your pages. So anytime that you click any of these nav buttons, you'll see those same controls in the upper right hand corner, and then you'll be able to update the messaging on here. And so you'd want to go through on each of the pages based off of the design that you had already determined, and you'd want to go and update your pages so that way it has messaging that speaks to what you want to say. Now, the next piece was related to sponsors and frequently asked questions. Now, on this specific example, unfortunately, I don't have sponsors and frequently asked questions, a static sponsor or a frequently asked question page, but it's very common, and in fact, it is standard on almost all of the sites that Rallybound creates. Now, where this would be found is generally on one of these nav buttons that's up here, and it would be a drop down that takes you to a sponsor page or to the frequently asked questions. And how you would update that on the back end is you would go to that same area where it says site content, and you would have these two options, frequently asked questions and sponsors. How Rallybound works is we create leveling systems or sections, and so here you can see we have three sections that are already created: donate, fundraising, and website, and those are the categories for where the frequently asked questions reside. Anytime I click on a specific section, I can see additional questions that are related to it. I would have the ability as an administrator to come here and just delete questions or make modifications to the questions to make them more specific to my organization. Now, when you originally go through the onboarding process, unless you have decided that you don't want an area that says frequently asked questions, then we're going to include that. And these are the questions that you're going to find. And this is exactly how you would go and you would update or edit them. You would go to site content, frequently asked questions. Any question that you wanted to update, you would be able to do so. Most of the questions pull from placeholders, so as long as you had updated information related to your organization name and address, which will be found in the settings area, which is over here, then that's what it's going to be pulling in. And so out of the box, most of the questions are standard, but you would probably want to go through and look at them, read them, make sure they apply to you, and make changes that are necessary. If you have your own frequently asked questions and you don't want to use ours at all, you can go ahead and delete them. You would add a frequently asked question. Let's just say the section title would be My Organization. Once you create the section, then it would appear here just like Donate, Fundraising, and Website would. You'd click into that and then you'd add the frequently asked questions, and that's where they would appear. You would do the same thing for sponsors. So there are two areas where we have sponsors exist on our site. The first is where we have a sponsor widget. And so using this example down here, I believe we have an area for sponsors. We don't have it on this page. I think we might have it on one of these pages. But generally on a campaign page, we will have an area for sponsors. And so here you can see this is where the sponsors reside. Anybody that you add as a sponsor is going to be listed here. If you have multiple images, oftentimes what they'll do is they'll act as a carousel and they'll float through the images. In all examples, unless you indicate that you do not want them to. If you do not want them to, when you create the sponsors, you'll have the option of saying only show on the sponsor page. That means it won't show on that widget or on the front page. It will only show on a static page. Let's say that we had a static page that was up here that said sponsors. That's where it would exist. Oftentimes that's where we find lower level sponsors, so that way they're still getting recognized, but they're not getting the same recognition as top level sponsors that are here on the front page. The second two areas, customize the fundraising page default and team fundraising default. You would do that also from this area. You would go down to personal page defaults. Once you're here, you'll be able to see what the images look like for your fundraiser. You would be able to come here and edit my page. You could update the messaging. If you want to submit your Facebook information for your organization so you can be a moderator on comments, you can do that through the Facebook ID here. And then to update team defaults, you would scroll down and you would click team defaults. You would see the team hero image, and then you'd be able to do the same here for your team defaults. So that's for the website. Let's talk about settings. Set up a payment processor. If applicable, add custom fields for registration and add the customize the registration waiver text. Now, I have an entire tutorial that's related to the waiver process and the registration field, so I'm not going to go into that into too much detail, but I will briefly go over it. So, payment processor, you go to settings, donation options. In this example, there was a setting that was turned on the back end because we wanted to have testing on, etc. But once you're here, then you would have the option of setting up a payment processor, and we have a number that we work with. Stripe and WePay are the two that we work with the closest. You can also set up WePay, and you can also set up a third-party gateway processor. And so you have all of those options, and it will walk you through each process step by step. But that is where you would go to get that set up. For registration fields, which depending on the registration type will depend on where they appear, you would want to come here using the same methodology as you did for the FAQs and the sponsors. You'd want to first add a field name, and then once you add the field name, you'd go back into the field, you'd add specific variations to the field. Let's say t-shirt would be the field name, t-shirt sizes would be the entries that you would add underneath the field, and those will appear on your registration form. There will be an area on there for you to associate cost with the registration fields, so you can go ahead and do that. To update the waiver text, you'd go to Campaign Dictionary. The easiest way for me to find information in the Campaign Dictionary is for me to just do Control F. Once you do that, you can double click on the waiver text, click on Edit, update it, and then save. And if you have chosen to have a waiver associated with your event, that will be the waiver text that's used. Communication. Add a contact email at which to receive email communications regarding campaign progress. Now, there are two ways to do that. If you have a general campaign email, let's just say info@xyz.com, then what you can do is you can come down here under campaign settings where it has ask questions about emails. You could put that email from address, and then you can also put who the email is to be notified of updates on your campaign. You can also do more advanced features, such as including an advance from email name, reply to email address, apply to name, and then contact us email address and name, which if you have a contact us form on the front of your page, up here, somebody clicks on this, this is where those emails are going to go to. Oh, there are those frequently asked questions I was looking for. See, it really depends on each individual site, on how you want it to look, but the basic architecture is the same and how you make updates is the same. So once you make updates to the email address, then that is where the emails are going to go out. It says email addresses to be notified. If you want to be updated of specific progress that's made, you can choose to enable these, the different updates that are made. Also, for each individual on a campaign that is an administrator, you can also select if you want to be notified of more detailed transactions that take place. So when you do that, what you'll need to do is you'll need to go up to, as the administrator that signed in, go to My Profile, Notifications, and here I will be able to select whether I'm notified for each new transaction, each new registration, and each fundraising progress update. And I can choose to do that for all of them, and it will select any of the campaigns I'm associated with. I can select it individually, or I can select it on a specific campaign basis. For emails and autoresponders that go out and fundraiser email templates, that can be accessed Again, when you're in the campaign view, you would want to go to email. And here you can choose to send out emails individually. You'd have to set up the email that you would go out, choose the class of recipients or an individual recipient, and then you could choose to send that immediately. Or you can create specific email templates, add a template, create what it's going to look like, and then you can save them to go out at a later time. An example is sending an email out to everybody that's participating, or maybe even like team captains, maybe a month before the actual event, trying to encourage and entice them to get motivated to do fundraising for you. That's where you would save those. The fundraising email templates are the emails that are available to your fundraisers or to your teams to send out to their donors. Here we have one example: outreach to potential donors, but we encourage you to come here and make your own, and you can do that by clicking on add template, creating templates that you want your fundraisers to be able to use, and then they'll be able to send those to their donors. To use placeholders, you would click on placeholders in any of the email templates and choose what placeholders you want to pull in, and that's what will pull into the emails. To update the header or the footer for emails that go out, you'd want to go to header and footer, and you'd want to add a header and footer that's here, upload. I would strongly encourage you to test what those look like before they go out to make sure that they look good. And I believe that that's about it in terms of communication. We do have a document that details social shares and where those are mapped. If you're interested, then please let us know. After all this is done, we encourage you to do a lot of testing. Create a fake record, go through the registration process yourself, see what it looked like as a fundraiser and as a team member or a team captain, and then once you have an idea of what it's like from those multiple viewpoints, we would want you to go back to the admin panel, look at what that looks like from your view, to look at the transactions, to look at the people, and think of what gaps there might be that exist. And if there are areas that you have additional questions about that you want us to help you out with, please let us know. Support at rallybound.com, or of course, you can reach out to the individual that you had previously been engaged with. We thank you so much for your time, and we wish you the best of luck in setting up and starting your campaign.